Hello, my name is Ulrich Schnauss, and this is my studio. Welcome, and I'm going to talk a bit about some of the instruments and other stuff that I'm using in here to make music. What I would usually do is I would actually leave this space and go over to the piano, and the piano is also hooked up to the mixer. I had some kind of idea. I don't know, let's play an old song, maybe. And so on and so on. And then when I would have settled on a theme like that, I would walk over here and then play the same thing in using synth. Let's see, I don't want to sit down on the recording device. What's hooked up here at the moment? See what it sounds like with this. And then you would start thinking about what to add next. Could be a bass line, some kind of melody on top, some stringy type stuff, whatever. I don't know what else is. I think the wave is on channel A. Let's try a different sound, maybe something a bit rhythmical. Yeah, okay. Something like that. So that would be underneath then, and yeah, and so on and so on and so on. Well, basically, I've been mixing stuff in the box for the last 8 or 9 years, probably, and I always had like a subjective feeling that the results weren't quite as good as the results that I used to have when I was still using a desk before that. So I think the biggest problem is not even so much individual sounds, but when it comes to summing in the end, I always had the impression that the overall sound picture I was getting was lacking sort of detail and clarity in those details, as well as separation and presence of individual elements. And then this summer I was working at a studio where I had the opportunity to use a desk again after a longer period of not doing it, and I just noticed that it wasn't just a subjective impression. I think actually objectively the summing is better in a desk, and that's why I decided to put one into the studio again. Yeah, I mean, I think with effects, it's actually quite similar to synths as well. I just tried to buy stuff over the years that has an interesting character and adds like a unique element to the overall sound, and the Ursa Major certainly does. I mean, that's a very odd sounding unit. The QRS is probably the opposite of that, while the Ursa Major is very lo-fi and very gritty. This is probably one of the most high-end, most expensive sounding reverbs I've ever heard. At least I actually think it's superior to something like the expensive Lexicon stuff. Yeah, again, that's quite a weird one as well. I suppose you could say it's a flanger mostly, but at the end of the day, it's just like a very brutal modulation effect. And yeah, obviously, although that Eventide stuff is classic anyway, I think I have an H3000 here as well. But I think especially for sort of chorusing. I think this is I prefer this even. This is actually I think one of the nicest choruses I know. Yeah, yeah. And the Sherman I just got recently because recently I just got really interested in tempo based modulations as well, and you can. You can't sync the LFOs to MIDI, but what you can do is you can trigger the filter envelope with MIDI signals, and it works very nicely, like with any kind of rhythmical sort of sequency type stuff, whether it's bass lines or chords or whatever. And it's a very nice filter as well, I think, because it's very characterful, very powerful. It almost distorts the signal. Or actually, I think it actually does. You know, if I had the money, I'd always really like one of those AMS units, like an SDMX or something like that. I think they're really interesting. Yeah. But yeah, at the same time, though, I think there's so much potential alone in this rack. Maybe one thing that I should mention is my favorite effects unit of all time. That's probably why I have two of those as well. The Publison DHM 89B2. That's a very interesting unit because it's from '78, but it's entirely digital. So it's very early digital, and it's a pitch shifter and a delay and a looper, and especially when you use it as a looper, and what I'm doing a lot is that I'm feeding the signal of the first unit then into the second one. Use different pitch settings on the independent modules. Then you get something that actually sounds very much like granular synthesis, but somehow also quite not. And it's really good for creating sort of like ambient backdrop drones as well. So it's quite heavily used on that album that I did with Mark, on that song called the one with the German title, Das Volk hat keine Seele, because there's like loads of sort of like staticky sort of stuff happening in the background. So that's stuff that I did with that one.
Would you ever find yourself using presets, or
no, I don't like. I mean, not categorically. I mean, if there were presets that I liked, then I would use them. It doesn't happen really. It's great. I love this instrument. It's brilliant. Yeah. And so on.